Jurickson Profar, 3 years, $42 million. That's a good raise from his
Wow.
1 year, $1 million contract and guarantees that he signed last offseason with the San Diego Padres, coming off a year in 2023 where he was cut by the infamous Colorado Rockies. What a turnaround for Profar. He was good in 2022, bad in 23.
Yes. Yeah.
And he had a career year this past season. Exit velocity went up about 5 miles an hour. The Hammer Territory podcast put out a breaking news show last night, and I listened to the whole thing, and they were pointing out how sick of a year Profar had. They said picking up 5 miles an hour of exit velocity is almost like a pitcher picking up 3+ miles an hour of velo. So props to him. He was on base a ton. What do you think about this move for the Bravos when Acuna comes back? Todd Father, you got Acuna, Michael Harris, Jurickson Profar in your outfield.
And you got Kelenic as the 4 guy.
Yep,
right? So
that's your depth.
That's a pretty good outfield. Good little depth chart, I think. I think it's a great sign for him. I don't know about you because you're the numbers guy when it comes to this. I didn't see this coming, this much money, but I thought he should have gotten a raise. Don't get me wrong, and I'm happy for him. Make as much as you can. The guy is an absolute stud. To do what he did in Colorado and then all of a sudden take off on a 1-year deal, another guy that said, you know what, I just want to play. I want to prove myself again. 1 year for $1 million, incredible. And I'm proud of him. I don't know him that well. Every time I saw him, we'd always, give each other love and respect. But for him, this is the culmination of, when he first came up, another big name, another Little League World Series legend.
That's right.
Oops.
That's right.
Oops. Yep. He did it twice, though. He went. He made it to the championship twice.
Your brother about that.
And he was in. He put his name on the map early in his career, and now he's putting his name on the map late in his career. I am on one. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm just feeling good.
I just learned Jurickson Profar's entire career timeline with Todd Father, but he was supposed to be a superstar, Kratz. Remember, he was famously put ahead of Bryce Harper on some prospect lists, and it never worked out. Although he's been in the league for a minute in a variety of roles, but we never saw him like we did last year.
I'll be honest. I'm a hater. I was a hater on him when he got his job last year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he should be out of baseball, but the whole $1 million, people don't understand $1 million as a big league contract. Guys that just get called up are getting $720,000. It's not like dudes are making $500,000 or $250,000 who are just getting called up. He was essentially making a first-time call-up amount of money, and to then turn it into what he turned it into, I never saw it coming. I honestly didn't think the guy was worthy of a big league deal last year, and he went out and not only proved me wrong. He had no idea I was hating on him, but he proved everybody else wrong too, for the fact that you can now turn it into $40+ million, a 3-year deal. You talk about the numbers. I honestly thought he would be, if he was a 3-year deal guy, I thought he was going to be like an opt-out after the first year type of thing, like prove it one more time. And he's just always been in the big leagues. So he's finally culmination of learning what he needs to learn to take his pitches. He's going into another great lineup. He's not a marquee guy in a lineup. He's a piece in a lineup. And I think it's just going to help him because he's going to another great team.
There's some more information from David O'Brien from The Athletic. He said they'll have Profar in left field. Jared Kelenic, who lost his spot towards the stretch of the season last year to Ramon Laureano, is going to have first dibs on right field until Acuna returns. And Profar isn't a platoon player. As Alex Anthopoulos said on the call last night, they've had significant outfield injuries on a season-by-season basis. Kelenic can also play center field. He can back up the corners. He and Brian De La Cruz also have minor league options. Yeah, I know. And then the Braves believe that Profar's swing adjustments, added leg kick, etc., were big difference makers for him last year. The way he used his lower half, they think contact rate, walk rate, strikeout rate were always good. Now he's added exit velo and power, and that it's sustainable. Someone else brought up how Alex Anthopoulos had Josh Donaldson and Jose Bautista up in Toronto. Both of them had their best work in the second half of their careers, right? They had some type of swing change or lower half change or philosophy change as far as hitters that took them to an entirely different level to make them superstar players at one point in their careers. So he likes these kind of guys.
He sees that value. He sees, again, Neil Huntington's coming on. Neil Huntington got rid of Jose Bautista. They didn't see what was coming, but I also think, different guys hear different things from hitting coaches.
Of course.
Jose Bautista heard it from Dwayne Murphy. So whoever it is for Profar, you hear something different. Hey, you know what? You have great strike zone discipline. Use it. That's the biggest thing for me. Use your strike zone discipline. That doesn't mean you take a bunch of pitches. It means you take an absolute ghetto hack at the ball that you want before 2 strikes. And he did that. I think there was a day when people would have been skeptical if a guy raised 5 miles per hour on his exit velocity. Like, it's not like dudes just all of a sudden, you know what, I haven't been in the gym for a little bit. I'm going to raise that. So for him to raise that, you have to do a significant mechanical change, but also a significant approach change. And he got paid.
God bless him. Good for him.
Yeah. He's going to get $12 million this season and then 15 each of the next 2 years after that. Remember, they traded away Jorge Soler. The money on a per-year basis kind of got close there where it matches up. Soler wasn't fitting in the Braves' current construction. You can't have Jorge Soler and Marcell Ozuna on the same team. Soler is a DH on a playoff contender, which is why I'm still a little questionable about the Angels move. I love him there, but I need Mike Trout to get DH time, but that's another story. Anyway, for the Braves, what do we like right now? Like, where do we rank them, and what's next? And I'll give you some context. One more note from Alex Anthopoulos on his call. The GM, or president of baseball operations now of the Braves, said they have payroll flexibility to add to the rotation and the bullpen. He said they're not close on a deal. He made it clear that any starter would have to make sense for them to block Holmes, Anderson, etc. So David O'Brien personally said he's guessing that they add a reliever and no significant big money starter or mid-level starter, really, with the market the way it is at this point. AKA, it doesn't sound like the Braves are suddenly going to sign Jack Flaherty or even a Lance Lynn type. They're feeling good with Grant Holmes, who really came out of nowhere last year, and then Ian Anderson to bounce back. And they have some other rotation depth, too. Guys in the minors who we always talk about.
I mean, the Braves always have guys that we don't even talk about. Like, dudes like Smith Shawver, when he came out of nowhere the other year. Ian Anderson had huge innings for them in the postseason when they won the World Series. You hope he bounces back, but the Braves just have constant depth. Rarely do they have to go into that Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn type of territory. I thought this year would be a year that they did because they didn't bring back Charlie Morton. I just am afraid of a team that is going to go deep into the season, deep into the postseason, that doesn't have somebody that's going to eat innings. And you can't always ask, look what happened to Bryce Elder, all-star. Second half kind of fell off. You can't always ask young guys to come in and say, I need 180 innings. It's Soroka did it the other, few years ago now. It's hard to ask young guys, but they have a bunch of them, so you got to kind of piece it together. And then a Lance Lynn slash Kyle Gibson type, I felt like that's the route they were going to go. But based on this, maybe not. Maybe it's young guys and then Spencer Strider whenever he gets back.
Yeah, and they're going to have a solid little club. I mean, this NL East is going to be really tricky because, besides the Marlins and Washington, the Mets have really done some damage, good damage of picking up players. So the Phillies are going to be there. I want to say something nice about them since I got Kratzy next to me. I do see Atlanta fighting for one of those top spots, but I ultimately, right now, if I had to choose, I would be in the AL East. I would think they were number 3, behind
NL East,
NL East, the Phillies and the Mets. So,
what's your top 3?
It would be right now. It'd be Mets, Phillies, and Braves.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. How about you?
I think it's Phillies. Braves, Mets.
That's how I have it for regular season. I think.
Well, that's what I was saying.
The way they're positioned for the playoffs could look different, but yes, regular season I got.
You got the Mets third, huh?
Phillies, Braves, Mets.
I think they get a little short in that fourth, fifth starter.
Okay.
Sixth, seventh inning. I think they're still a little short.
I,
There's time and there's dudes out there.
Yeah.
We're not talking about free agents right now, but there's time and dudes out there.
I just think they got a good taste of last year, how they came on strong, and they want that more. I'm not saying the other two teams don't either, but I feel like this is like, all right, guys, this is where we should be. It's time to take off, and I think this is the year that they kind of separate themselves from in the NL East.
I think the Phillies have a postseason problem with their offense. I've been talking about this a lot lately. I do, but I don't care. That doesn't have to do with the regular season. Their stars are going to beat the crap out of plenty of pitching in the regular season, and their starting rotation is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not getting talked about enough. Right now, we're looking at the Dodgers and going, oh, they're full of number ones and aces and all of that, but they're not workhorses. The Phillies guys are mostly workhorses too.
Yeah.
Nola posts, Wheeler posts, Suarez usually posts. I mean, last year he went through it a little bit, right?
Every year he runs into a little something.
Okay.
He runs into a little back, a little trap, something. It's 160 inning. A couple years he should have won the Gold Glove. He missed it by like 2/3 of an
inning.
That
was a joke.
It's, he was coming out of the bullpen too. So he's made those adjustments, but Sixto Sanchez. I mean, not Sixto Sanchez, Christopher Sanchez.
I like that.
Sixto was
Christopher's
traded.
great. Yeah.
Christopher's great. Jesus Luzardo. Obviously, he's more of that like Dodgers ilk where you're like, hey, if we can get 160 innings out of him, that is elite. Make sure he's ready. And then they have Andrew Painter waiting in the wings, who is literally untouchable in trades.
He's either the best or probably second best, whatever you want to call it, him and Jackson Jobe, pitching prospects in the sport right now. Guys who are still prospects. All right. We'll step aside. If you're watching somewhere online and you can comment, then let us know where you have the top three in the NL East stacked up. We're going to talk to, there you go, Hammer Territory, by the way, put out an entire episode on Jurickson Profar, the career year Silver Slugger, all-star appearance, 24 homers last year, the whole deal. Also, they went over his clutch stats, which are really good. So check out their latest episode. It's also in the Foul Territory pod feed. All right, swinging right back with Chandler Rome, who's got tons of fresh information